All right. So looks like basically we have two people, one of whom is more interested in Python and one of whom is more interested in Java. So we're going to try and do both, and we'll see how that goes. The point I was making.
She's John.
Okay, good. So the main point I was making last week is that a programming language is only a small part of programming. There's really sort of four main components. There is, so what is programming? Whoops. Programming, we need to understand the problem. We need to analyze the problem, break it down. Whoops. That's supposed to be a D there. And transform it. From what to how. We need to understand something in order to be a good programmer. We need to understand something about computers, how they work. So we want to come up with some sort of model of how computers work. And then, yeah, we need to know some sort of programming language. Okay, so it's really all four of these aspects that all tie in to being a programmer. So the programming language, we're going to spend some time today taking a look at this. We're going to take some time looking at both Java and Python. And I'm not sure exactly, but we're going to spend some time looking at some of this stuff too. All right. So, but I know we want to do some programming, so let's jump into that. So where we're doing our programming these days, we don't have to do any kinds of installs or anything. We're just going to, it's not the right screen. We're just going to go to this Replit site. Whoops, no, that's not it. Where am I? Here it is. Okay. So if you open your browser and you go to repl.it, repl.it, okay, and you go there, and well, I'm already logged in, so it already, but when you go there, it'll ask you for a choice of language, and Rylan, you can select Python, and Alejandro, you can select Java. Make sure you select Java, not JavaScript. And let me know when you're ready to go. Let me open up one that's got Python going. All right, so, okay, so we don't have to log in or sign up. We can just start coding if we want. And I'll select Python on this one. All right. So the first thing we want is we want to get it to do something for us. So we'll just print out something. We'll just print out hello world. It's the sort of the first program everybody does. Alejandro, I'm sorry for repeating some stuff from last week. But in Python, we can say print hello world. And then we can click on run, and it will do it. Or in Java, we can go to here, and we can print out a whole bunch of things. All right. Okay, Rylan, were you able to get to Replit? You're on mute.
I have.
Oh, you're on
I
mute.
have the Zoom. I can't get back to my browser if I'm on Zoom.
Okay, so that's a good point.
Can you get off the share and then I can get to Zoom?
So
To the browser.
Here, take this.
yeah,
Take
so
Are you having problems?
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you need?
I need to get off this browser without closing this.
What do you need to do? You need to go to.
so one thing that I would like to suggest is that we don't have to, we can deal with this today, but longer term it would be helpful. It's not necessary, but it's helpful if we have two screens. If we have one screen for our Zoom session and one screen for doing programming on. So these can be on the same computer. So if you have a laptop like I do that can have an external monitor, that's great. That gives you two screens. Or you could even like have like an iPad along with your laptop. You could have like Zoom on the iPad and do your programming on the laptop, something like that.
Oh yeah, I can make that.
If you don't have two screens, you're just gonna have to like minimize the Zoom window and let yourself work in your browser for a little bit.
So
Here, wait, hold on. Let me get it so that you can see them both.
back to tonight. I do this. Get this.
Here, can I make that bigger? Yeah, there you go. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, there you go.
What's the app? What's the web address again?
So it's REPL.IT.
RT, right?
R,
RPLRT.
let's start again. So it's R as in Rylan,
Yeah.
E as in Egger, P as in
Oh.
Paul, L
Wait.
as in
Okay.
light,
Okay.
and then a period, and then
Okay.
IT. And I can actually put a link to it in WhatsApp if you happen to have WhatsApp around. That's probably not helpful.
But I got to it,
Okay, great.
and it says code and calibrate without fraction. Use the free. So it has two things I can click on, and it has all that coding. It says the front says start coding or sign up.
Okay, so you don't have to sign up. You don't have to log in. You just click on start coding,
Okay.
and then it gives you a choice of different. Yeah, Python. Yep. And then click on create REPL.
Okay. I got it.
Okay, great. So there's sort of like three areas on the screen. There's over on the left, there's a list of your files. Right now you only have one file. It's called main.py for Python, main.python. And in the middle section, that's where you can edit the content of your files. And then over on the right-hand side, when you run your program, that's where the output will show up. So in the main area there where it says main.py, if you type print and then left parenthesis, and then a quote mark, and hello world. Let me know when you got that typed in.
Print and then what?
And then you click on this big run button up above it.
Okay, so I put it in.
And you click on run, and it'll print out hello world.
I want to.
Any luck?
And I hit run.
Right.
I got torque.
All right, great.
It has some other stuff on it on the screen, but I have no idea why that is there.
Can Rylan share his screen? Coach K? Do you want to share your screen, Rylan, and I'll take a look at it?
Yes, he can share.
So I have to stop sharing?
Yeah, you have to stop sharing.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. So it should be a button at the bottom of your window saying share screen.
Share screen, and then there's a. Do you see it? Share?
No. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. So, okay. So, here you go. Yeah, so if you, yeah, okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's
there's
exactly right. There,
Yeah,
when you move your cursor above the print, the editor tries to help you out by showing you information about the function that you typed in there, print.
Yeah.
So, right. So you're good.
Okay.
All right.
Should I stop
Okay.
sharing?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take it back. All right. All right. Before we go any further, I want to show you. So, Coach K, let me borrow the robot, the FTC robot. Let's see, where is it? There, can you see it? Yeah. So there's the FTC robot.
Wait.
On my floor. It's not on my screen share. It's on my camera view. Can you see it, Alejandra? All right. Anyway, and then here's my. This might not work out. I don't know.
Can you see it now, Rylan?
Here's my program that I wrote. You can see it uses blocks. So this is the Java. This is the FTC Blocks program. So it's just a very simple program. Actually, this isn't even the one that's running. But anyway, they all kind of look like this. There's big loops and stuff. And then anyway, so I take this phone, this Android phone here, and I say run my move program, and I click on it, and I click on play, and it moves the robot back and forth. So anyway, I was excited. So I'll tell you more about that in the coming weeks. Hopefully we'll all get to move the robot before this is all done. All right, so back to programming. All right, so we've written some code. We've got something to happen here in Replit, so that's good. And so I've written up some simple cheat sheets. So let's see how I can tell you how to go find them. So there's this one for Java, and we have this one from last year for Python, and they cover similar information. So Rylan, you'll want to take a look at this. And let's see. Alejandro, you want to take a look at this one? All right, so so there's 4 things that we need to be able to do to be a good programmer, right? We need to be able to understand the problem. We need to be able to analyze it, turn it into something. We need to know something about computers, and we need to have at least some limited vocabulary for actually writing a program. So that's what my focus is going to be today, to try to develop just a little bit of vocabulary for how we write our programs. All right, so the first thing is going to be comments. Comments are things that are ignored by the computer. And so you're like, well, what's the point? I mean, the whole point is that we're writing something that is going to make a computer do something. But it's very easy to write programs that humans have to be able to understand programs as well as computers. Because humans we have to be able to look at our source code, understand what it's doing and why it's doing it. And so the comments help us with that. So all right, so in Java, we can use 2 forms of comments. We can either use this // form or the /* form. So we can come over to Replit here. We can do something like, say, something like, you know, print out something. So that line gets ignored. We can put it after the end of the line. This checks if 2 strings are equal. And we can put them up at the start of the program too. Oops, I got a Z somewhere. What did I do? Yeah. All right. So we can put like /*. This is a simple program code, and maybe like today's date or something like that. June 24, 2020. Okay, so then the next time that we look at this file, we're like, oh, okay, this is just it's just a little simple demo program. And anyway, we could just, so comment. This is comment. In Python, the comments look a little bit different. Where did my cheat sheet go? In Python, comments we have the same idea. We have comments that are for a single line with this pound sign, or we can use like 3 quote marks to create sort of what we call block comments. So if we come over into Python, Ryland, we can say something like, this is a simple program, and today's date, June 24th, 2020. Okay. And we can put something here like print out something. Okay. And you can see when we run it, it generates exactly the same thing that it did before. We haven't affected the execution of the program. We've sort of illustrated it with information that can be useful to humans. Okay, so comments. Next thing we want to talk about is values. So values have a type. So there's some examples of integers, and there's something called decimals. Integers are whole numbers. Decimals are, what would you call these things in math class?
I think they call it just whole numbers and decimals. Right, Rylan?
Yes.
Okay, well, good. So whole numbers, decimals, also strings. So strings in Java have to be in double quotes like that. Strings in Python, you can have them either be in single or double quotes. And then there's 4 different types of values that we're interested in right now. So integers, decimals, strings, and something called Booleans. Boolean values, there's just 2 values. There's true and there's false. That's it. So, which is surprisingly useful. You'd be like, well, how useful can that be? Well, it's actually pretty indispensable. All right, so we have values, and the values on their own aren't that interesting. We want to be able to operate on the values, right? And so that's why we have operators. So operators transform the values, right? So we can have like 3 plus, so we have arithmetic operators where we can add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And this is the same in both Python and Java. Whoops, what happened there? Okay. Strings have a plus operator. They don't have a minus or anything else, but what the plus operator does is it sticks them together. So if we say, and this is both Java and Python, so you can go ahead and try this in your in here in the editor. So you can say something like system dot out dot front line um, 3 plus 2, you know, or we can say something like, well, actually, it's wrong. It's 3. My name is Fred. So if we run this, we're going to see 6, and we're going to see my name is Fred. So over in Python, the way that this looks is I can say pretty much the same thing, print 3 plus 3, or print my name is Fred. All right. So any questions so far? How's it going, Rylan? He's still typing.
Uchken, what is the symbol that you have used for commenting a group of lines for Python?
For Python, you can use either single or double quotes. So these are double quotes. Yeah, but you have to have 3 of them. So
3 of them. Okay.
right.
Okay.
So all right. So everybody with me? So what's an example of a value? Somebody, you got to come off mute and tell me.
Okay, give it a try. Come on, Rylan, Alejandra, and Vikas.
I remember.
What'd you say, Rylan?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about values and operators so far. So values are things like this. Integer values, integer numbers, are integers are values. We can have decimal values, we can have string values, and we can have these Boolean values. Okay. But we need to be able to operate on them, right? We need to be able to multiply our numbers together. We need to be able to add things together. We need to be able to deal with strings in different ways. And so one way of transforming them is to use operators. So that's things like plus and minus signs. So let's come back to Python. If I say print 3 plus 3, 3 is a value, this other 3 is a value, and the plus sign is an operator. So, and there are other operators too, right? Multiply. This is an arithmetic operator because it's working on two numbers. Okay. These are also the values here. These, what kind of values are these?
In
Looks like somebody said the answer.
String value.
Right, right. Strings or text. Right, these are well, it's text, right? It's words. Right? And there's really only one operator that works with strings, and that's the plus operator. What does the plus operator do? It doesn't add them together. What does it do?
Combine them.
Right, exactly. It combines them. It joins them together. So if I have one string that says my name is, and another string that says Fred, right? And if I join them this way, then it comes out like over here as being one string. My name is Fred. What happens if I say minus here? What would that do? This is a trick question.
Array.
What's that?
An array.
You say it's an error?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Yeah, that's right. It's an error, right? There's really only one operator that works on strings, and that's the plus sign. It's pretty much the only thing you can do with them is put them together. There are other ways of dealing with strings, but it goes with functions and so on. So, okay, we can have more than just, we can have more operators, right? We can have more operators and more values. So we could have 3 plus 4 plus 5. So what will that equal?
17.
That is correct, right? Because, but suppose you wanted it to equal. Suppose you wanted to do this add before. Well, it will equal 17, right? Because it's going to do the 3 times 4 first, and then it's going to do, and then it's going to add 5 to it. So it equals 17. And the reason it does the 3 times 4 first is because it does multiplication before addition. I think that's the way things work in your math class too, right? Okay. If we want to have the 4 plus 5 happen first, we can always force that to happen by putting parentheses around it like that. So, and again, this happens in both Java and Python. So now it's equal to 27 because we do the 4 plus 5 first. That makes 9. That makes that 9 times 3 is equal to 27. Okay? All right, so we got values and we have operators. What else do I have here? I'm sure I have something. Expressions. Okay, right. So that's another vocabulary word we need to know. So when you combine operators and values, it forms what's called an expression. So it's just, there's nothing new here programming-wise other than learning this word, that this is called an expression. This is called an expression. Anytime you've got values and operators, it forms an expression. And all right, so statements. So here's one difference between Python. Somebody saying something? One difference between Python and Java is that with Python, when you want to, let's say, where's Python? So Python just knows that the end of the line is the end of a statement, right? I don't think you can do this. I could be wrong. I don't think that's valid. Yeah, I guess it is. Make it do something. All right. So, well, I don't know. Python is just Python. You never have to put in a semicolon, but with Java, at the end of every statement, you have to put in this little semicolon at the end. So, and that forms a statement. All right, and I think one more thing here. All right. Now this is, okay, we've already kind of talked about this, the basic data types. So Python and Java have, they both have pretty much all programming languages have a concept of type, right? So different data is represented in different ways in the computer. And hopefully we'll get into that in a lesson, not today though, how they get represented. But they're just represented differently. And so in Python just figures out what type something is by looking at the value. Right? When you put a 3 in Python, it just knows that that's a integer. When you put something like this in, it knows that it's a decimal, and so on. But with Java, you have to tell it. You have to be more explicit about telling Java what type of things are. All right. And then so finally, so then we come to variables. All right. So what's a variable? Let's look at it from a programming perspective first. So we wouldn't be able to write very interesting programs by just like this kind of stuff where we're putting in just values, right? With that we just know what they are ahead of time, right? When I wrote this program, I could have figured out that 2 times 4 plus 5 was 18. I didn't really need to have a computer to do that for me. So where things start to get a little bit more interesting is when we start to use variables, where a variable can have different values as the program executes. So we could, in Python, we can say something like x gets 3, or let's do this. Let's say width gets 3, height gets 4, and then area gets width times height. And then we can print the area. All right. So this starts to get a little bit more interesting because so it prints this 12 down here at the end is the value of this print statement. So this starts to get a little bit more interesting, right? Because now we've sort of got like a formula going. So we can say area is equal to the width times the height. But right now the width and the height are 3 and 4. If we were to somehow change width and height, this line of code, these 2 lines of code still wouldn't need to change, right? And they would produce the value, it would still compute an area for you. So if we change the width to 6, right, run it again, now instead of 12, it's 24. So what are width, height, and area? These are things called variables. So this creates, whoops, forgot what language I was in. Create variable named width and set value to 6. All right. So, and similarly here, we create a variable called height and set its variable to 4. Here we create a variable called area, and we set it to value of width times height, which happens to be, in this case, 24. All right. So in Python, we create variables. Variables have a name. In Python, we could do something, geez, sorry, I keep getting mixed up in my languages. All right, so that's Python. In Java, we have to tell, this sort of works, but not quite. So first of all, our comments here are like this. Also, we have to end every statement with a semicolon, so we have to do this. Also, it's not print here, it's system.out.print line. The other thing here is that Java requires us to say what the type of the variable is. So we have to say something like, we have to tell it that it's going to be an integer. You have to say, or we could also make it, I think it's called double. Okay, like that. And now we can run this program. So in Java, we have to tell the computer not only the name of the variable, but also what type it is. And it's still thinking about this, I guess. Let's try that again. Can you see me waving? I can see you guys moving, right? Yeah, okay. My computer's still working. All right. So, so you're like, why does Java require you to tell it what type of value is supposed to be in the variable? And there's several reasons for that, but I think the main reason is for correctness, right? In Java, Python is a great language for writing something very quickly and just trying things out. But Java tries to make more of an effort to make sure that your code is correct. Hey, I lost all my code. It's not nice. Let's try that again. All right. Signature. Double there. All right, let's try that. Saving, save. All right.
Coach Ken, there is like a little bit of typo in width and yeah. Yes.
All right. Anyway, my point is that, so yeah, so there you go. So it's 24.0. So, in Python, if I did this, if I said, if later on in my program, I wanted to set, maybe I want to change width to 9. So I say width equals 9, right? And then I run my program. It runs without complaining, right? Python is like, oh, sure, created a new variable called WIDT. He set it to 9. And it doesn't, it never throws an error, never complains. It produces the wrong value. I didn't want it to produce 24. I wanted it to do 9 times 4, which is 36, right? Whereas in Java, if I did that, if I said width equals 9, it'll complain. It'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. That you never told me about this variable that you're trying to use called WIDT. So it doesn't even run you can't even run the program, much less run it incorrectly. It won't compile. So then you're like, oh shoot, I made a mistake. I meant to call that width. And now when you run your program, it'll work. And so that's so the strength. It's either a strength or a weakness of the program, depending upon what your goal is. If your goal is to write something nice and quick that runs really easily, that's very easy to write, Python's more your language. If you want something that you're going to run your business on and that you have to absolutely make sure runs correctly and the way that you intend it to run, then Java is a better language for doing that because it has more of the sort of type checking and other error checking. All right. So that's some variables. And all right, where are we at? 6:47. So any questions before we go any further? All right. So let me ask you to write a program that will print out your name and the area of the area of a rectangle. You know how to compute the area of a rectangle, Rowan? Okay. Just let's see. So what's a really simple formula? All right. Well, anyway, all right. So let's do area. So area, if you have a
In the area of a rectangle, you need to compare height times width times.
right. Right. So we have a rectangle, and it's got a height on it of h, and it's got a width w. So the area is equal to the height times the width. So if the height is 6 and the width is 10, then the area is the height times the width, which is 6 times 10, which is 60. Okay? So we want to program, print your name, and print area of a rectangle. Apologize for my bad handwriting. And if you want, you can set the height and width to anything you want. But if you want me to just tell you, I'll just say use these values. What the heck? We'll set the width to 10 and the height to 6. Are you all done, Alejandra? Alejandra, you okay? Are you, did you already finish? Or are you typing with one hand?
I'm just typing with one hand.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. You want to share your screen?
Yes, I like to share my screen.
Okay.
I think Alejandra's internet connection is unstable.
I'm sorry, what?
Just for a moment, the internet connection was unstable.
All right, so Rylan, were you able to do it? Did you finish? You working on it?
I finished.
Okay, good.
It's
So-
put on the share screen so I can share.
Sorry, what? And-
He's just asking you to stop sharing the screen so he can share.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sure, sorry.
I have it working.
Perfect.
So it prints my name, then the area of the rectangle, which is 60.
Great. You even put a comment in there. I love that. Very good. Okay. I know this is only a sample program. I always avoid having a variable that is just one character, just because they are hard to for several reasons. One is that they're hard to find, right? Like it's easier to find a big word than a small word. And also because H and W, you know, when you start getting into a larger program, H and W could mean all kinds of things, right? It could mean, you know, number of hats or, you know, some, some whatever. So
Yeah,
But that's fine. That's really good.
I just made it quick, so.
Okay. Alejandra, you're all set?